Alright folks, hello again, welcome back to my channel. And whenever I bring up the topic of craft fairs, artisan markets, whatever you want to call them, the videos tend to be quite popular because I know there are a lot of maker folk out there who are trying to sell their bespoke items at these type of events throughout the year. And I want to focus today's video on trying to generate more sales. So you have booked your table or you have a seller space like I have at the Red Brick Market down in Liverpool, and I'm also intending on doing more kind of craft table type sales throughout the year, particularly this year. And you've got your variety of price points, so hopefully from like £3, £4, £5 up to £50, £60, £70, even more. So you're well set for the day. But how do you go about generating more sales? Now, I recently added the fantastic X-Tool S1 20-watt laser to the workshop, and it has been a great addition because it allows me to do a different range of items to what I've been doing previously. So it can be bespoke, personalized items, or it can be themes that are regional to you. And I've been working a lot with slate, and been really successful, particularly down at the Red Brick Market. I've had lots of sales. Now, I have been making some slate coasters, and I've got a blank here. Now, how can I develop a strategy to promote more sales of items like this? Well, the concept of batching items or batching orders has been around since the dawn of time. So you throw in a kind of a sweetener, really. So you could say 4 for the price of 3, those kind of things. But I tend to avoid those kind of strategies because, as makers will know, margins are quite tight anyway. So if in effect you are giving away 1 for the cost of 3, it's something at this stage I'm trying to avoid. However, can I come up with an idea that can add value to a purchase? So if you are going to batch an item, say sell them in a set of 4 as opposed to individually, is there a way I can add value to that situation without it costing me too much money or too much time? And this is what I want to demonstrate today in regards to those particular items and promoting sales, gaining extra sales by adding that little bit of extra value. It's a dead simple build involving whatever scrap you've got. So you can do this with plywood if you've got some offcuts from different projects. I've got some offcuts, ones in particular. Do you know those ones that you've been keeping hold of probably for a couple of years, thinking one day it's going to come in handy? Well, I've got some of that knocking around somewhere, and I think it's perfect for a job like this. So enough chit chat from me. I'm going to crack on with this. I'll see it at the end, and then maybe we can discuss in the comment section whether you think this kind of tactic, sales tactic if you like, is a good way of trying to promote extra sales. All right, I'll see you in a bit. First thing we need to do is find a base piece for this project, which on all 4 sides is fractionally wider than the coaster itself. Here I'm using the coaster to get the correct sizing, which is then marked with a pencil and ready to take over to the miter saw. And yes, here it is, the piece of what I think is oak and been knocking around the workshop for the last few years, waiting to find a use. It's around 20mm by 20mm, giving it a square profile, which I'm going to change to an L-shaped profile using the router table. Here I am using my Trend digital depth gauge to correctly measure the height of the router bit, and I'm going to do this in several passes, mainly for safety reasons, but also to prevent tear out. As you can see, I'm using my hold downs and feather boards to keep the piece aligned, but it also means I can keep my hand well away from the router bit. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of safety when using a router, because things can quickly and easily go wrong when using them. After 3 passes, the profile now looks like this. It's not absolutely perfect, but will certainly do for a project of this type. Quick bit of advice, it's much easier to sand longer pieces like this before you cut them up than trying to sand lots of individual small pieces. Also, with this holder having lots of angles, I decided to sand the base piece before joining everything together. As you can see here, I'm using my excellent Bessey horizontal pull down clamps on my MFT top. There is a link in the description to my Amazon storefront which has links to all of the equipment being used in this video. Next stage is to cut the corner pieces, and to get the right sizing I place 4 coasters on top of the base piece and measure the height with my combination square. I mark with my Sharpie pen a line on the base of my miter saw, which makes it easier for repeat cuts. Now onto the glue up, which is easier said than done because it's quite a fiddly job. I have a video dedicated to my go-to glue in the workshop, and there should be a link somewhere in the corner now. And I'm also using for the first time these Stanley band clamps. I found them to be excellent value at around £22 for a pair. Again, I'll leave a link in the description. When tightening the clamp up, I placed the 4 coasters inside to help prevent the 4 corner pieces from turning inward. Following morning and all seems well. I do think it's important to get some kind of mechanical fixing in addition to the glue, just in case someone decides to pick the holder up by one of the corner pieces and it breaks off. I decided to use some brad nails, but you could always use some standard nails with a hammer or even some small brass screws, which I think would look really smart. If you are going to apply a fixing, try where possible to apply it into the edge grain and not the end grain, as this will give a much better bond. Finally, finishing it off with my own wax that, again, I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in purchasing some. And there we have it, all done. And that brings us to the end of this one. I must admit, even though it was thrown together, I think it looks pretty smart, and I'd be much more confident now in being able to sell 4 of these coasters in one transaction than I would be selling 4 individual coasters, if that makes sense. I appreciate that some folk might say, oh, you've got all the tools and you can, you know, it's all right for you. Do you know, I have built up this over a period of 5 years, and I make no apology for the equipment that I have around me. However, you don't need that kind of stuff that I used to be able to make something like that. It's very much a beginner friendly project. In terms of the corner pieces where I used the router, you could take a 10mm strip and a 5mm strip of ply and just simply glue them together, or you can get those kind of corner profiles from your local timber merchant. But again, there's an expense involved in there, and this is all about adding value with maybe what you've got via scrap materials, if that makes sense. Hope you've enjoyed this one, folks. Let me know what you think about it in the comments section. It's an extremely busy workshop in here that my web members and YouTube members are well aware about, of a lot going on, but I'm trying to balance that in terms of being a maker and also being a content creator. And here's a little clue. You can see that, I think, for next week's video. All right, as ever, folks, take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.